Bora 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 City. It is time to check out the new magazine. It's been a while, I've forgotten the melody. Bora 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 City. It is time to check out the new magazine. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Shiki. Today we're going to check out the BTS 2025 contract renewal. Didn't come out of nowhere. So you know what? It's been a while, Bora. So we're going to let you cook. Do your thing. We're going to see what this is about. Very, very interesting title. Video essay. Here we go. But before we get started, I just wanted to remind you that the MAMA 2023 votings are going on. So please, if you have time and you want to vote and help BTS get another Daesang, now is the time to vote. If you don't know, you can check the link in the description. I made a tutorial. Simple. And of course, JK is nominated on MTV EMAs. As you know, the voting also ends at the end of October. And it's the most simple voting ever. And if you want to vote there and you want to contribute to JK getting his awards, you can check the link in the description as well. Without any further ado, let's go.
All of the BTS members just signed their third contract to continue being part of BTS as a 7-member group under their label BigHit Music, part of Hype Corporation. If you don't know, BTS is still a group despite being in the military, and they are currently in their second contract. This third BTS contract starts in 2025, and I'm very happy, but I'm not surprised at all, because the signs were always there. When BTS announced that they were going to start their mandatory military service and focus on solo music, it was so easy to assume that it was the end. And I understand this coming from people who don't know much about the industry and BTS's contracts. But when it comes from people who actually work on media, it was frustrating to see that there was so much misinformation and nonsense predictions being pushed around by them.
We say misinformation, but I feel like they just never really cared and they just wanted to push that narrative, like BTS are disbanding or they're going their own separate ways, which is why that kind of prompted Namjoon and JK after the festa. It's just like, I see them as hyenas.
Boys of BTS are headed in different directions.
I don't know if I think they're gonna come back.
BTS just revealed some
Who is that? Who even is that?
major news, and it's not smooth like butter.
Like, maybe it's time to move on. The K-pop supergroup broke hearts around the world, announcing they're going to take some time to focus on solo projects. Their management says it's not a hiatus, so kind of sounds like it. I guess all good things must come to an end, right?
Billboard
Oh, that's actually so frustrating. Like, who are these people? Why am I cringing? Ugh.
even had an article in 2022 titled BTS hiatus didn't come out of nowhere. These were the warning signs. Allegedly, one of the writers even took out his name from the writing credits. Could it be because he realized that these predictions made no sense, or was he afraid that he wouldn't be able to interview BTS? Realized that these predictions made
Jeff Benjamin.
no sense, or was he afraid that he wouldn't be able to interview BTS once they reunite? I don't know, but what I do know is that these kind of predictions are now 100% denied, not only by ARMY and BTS, but also by an official legal document. Let's see why the BTS 2025 contract renewal didn't come out of nowhere. These were the obvious signs the industry tried to dismiss.
The company behind Korean supergroup BTS.
So very, very interesting intro, very intriguing intro, pulls you in immediately. And I think it's, I'm happy you're making such a video like this because, I just can't trust media. The media has no one's best intention at heart besides their own clicks and views and just trying to get as much engagement as possible. Like, they are literally, I feel like, the best example of selling yourself out, and just not really caring about being genuine and making genuine connection. And then it kind of like, I feel like no matter what you say, everyone like falls behind this like journalism umbrella, but at the same time, like, if you have like an ounce of dignity, I feel like you could do good pieces and write-ups without resorting to the dirty tactics we see.
BTS is not just a record label or a management company.
I want to talk about the importance of this contract, not just about the fact that they are signing with HYBE. However, I know that there are people asking themselves, why are they signing with BigHit and HYBE for a third time when they obviously have quote-unquote better opportunities with major international labels? Some people even say that it would be better for them to create their own label, like other K-pop idols do. The answer by some armies would be that BigHit is BTS's label and HYBE is BTS's company because they built that company from the ground. When BTS started, they were the only group sustaining that label, and it's thanks to BTS and BTS only that the label is where it is now. In return, the CEO gifted big stocks to BTS, so even if they leave one day, they will continue making money from other groups signed to the label. But if you don't buy this maybe sentimental and dreamy idea, let's talk about the other options BTS rejected. In my opinion, no matter which label the BTS members choose, they're not going to be able to manage them 100% correctly, because no label has had the experience of successfully managing a group this big. If BTS signed with UMG or Universal Music Records, which is the biggest and most powerful music label in the world, the label will continue with some actions that go against BTS's philosophy, like payola, overworking and over-controlling artists, and underpaying musicians. This can be good for their numbers, but this kind of shady stuff can create allegations and other legal problems, and they will definitely not help BTS's longevity. Think about the Western artists who have multiple legal battles with their own labels, preventing them
I don't even know who that is. I'm assuming it's an artist.
to release music or leave the label.
I don't know who that is either. Like, who are these people? Why are they being photographed?
Others even have to re-record their discographies because they don't own their music. So what about creating their own label like some K-pop idols do? When K-pop idols end their 7-year contract, it's common for them to create their own label and have the freedom they didn't have under their previous contract with a K-pop label. However, since these artists are promoting in South Korea, the best case scenario for them is finding promotion opportunities for themselves inside South Korea. But the kind of promotions that the biggest group in the world requires are more than a new, inexperienced label can provide. Even if they get the best CEOs in music to work with them, the BTS members would have to go through the struggle of finding and working with experts they don't know and they don't trust. So they chose HYBE, the label which made them debut and which knows BTS's style of working and promotion demands. Beyond this,
not just that, it's basically where they've set everything up, it's where they've been. And the more contracts they renew, the more power they hold, literally. Like, it's not like they need to be guided, they've turned into such amazing full-fledged artists, and it's just like, I just feel like it's perfect what they did. That renewal just makes sense.
the BTS members are business majors, and it's been reported that they already have a strong voice in the agency. RM has even made presentations challenging the company's projects and has successfully stopped them. I believe this is why their contract negotiations always happen years earlier, and they come to a conclusion 2 years before the start of the new contract. This is not common in K-pop. Groups either announce that they are renewing their contracts a month or two before their previous contract is about to end, or they continue negotiating months after their contracts already ended. But by looking for a conclusion 2 years before the next contract is about to start, the BTS members have time to consult their lawyers, talk between each other, and tell their demands to the label. Actually, they were not shy with their demands for the second contract, which is the one they're currently signed to. This is what BTS told HYBE during negotiations for the second contract. We will give you 7 more years, but give us the acknowledgement that we deserve for the success that we have achieved, and reflect that in the contract. This
I love that.
negotiation happened in 2018, when their highest peak.
Okay, so you know what? I actually like that because they know what they're doing and they're demanding for them to be treated fairly and based on, what they're doing and what they're achieving and all the hard work that they've done. I love that they've not been pushed around from the very beginning, despite being there with HYBE or Big Hit Music from the very start. It's a wonderful thing. That's why I just think it makes sense, because they have so much say and so much control continuing here. Signing with Universal, for example, to me it feels like they just try to do what they think is right, which is not how it works. Like Boris said, there's no precedent for what BTS is doing. So I don't know, I just feel
was
like
number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 when they had no Grammy nomination. Their highest peak was number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 when they had no Grammy nominations and when they spent only 2 years in the global music industry. But now, the BTS members have 8 number 1 songs, 5 Grammy nominations. They made billions of dollars not only for their small independent label but also to their country, and they have solidified a legacy for over a decade. So if they had high demands then, imagine what they were able to agree with this third contract. Actually, this contract required board approval, which means that the terms are above the regular threshold. This is unusual, and it can suggest that this new deal will give the BTS members bigger cuts, shares, exclusive rights, or something extra that the board had to approve. Only the down payment is estimated to be over 3 times what it was with their second contract.
look, all I gotta say is absolutely deserved. It's not like, to me, I'm not gonna be like, oh my god. No, it's deserved. Add a 0 to that.
This is not the total they are getting for the entirety of the contract. It's just a small initial payment. And of course, you would need to add all the money they will get when they actually come back in 2025. So yes, this contract is massive, probably the most important of their careers yet. The magnitude of this news were confirmed by RM, who as the leader of BTS shared a snippet of the contract on Instagram, followed by BTS ARMY 2025. And a celebration of the contract renewal, BigHit donated $750,000 to BTS's UNICEF campaign in the name of ARMY. So now that I talked a little about the basics of why they chose to sign with HYBE, I'll talk about what I actually wanted to talk about, which is the importance of this contract in itself. Because if you really think about it, there has not been any other contract like this in the history of music. Don't think about BTS.
There's also never been any other group like BTS.
Re-signing with HYBE. Think about what the existence of BTS as a 7-member group for approximately at least another decade means to pop culture.
방탄소년단 축하드립니다.
First, we need to contextualize the
Do you want to see more of this? Do you want to see a random announcer? Well, not random, like I'm saying, like it could be anyone. It could be, a singer and, an actor, an actress. Do you want to see them call out their name once again? Well, to make sure you put in some, votes on MAMA 2023. There's a Desang up for grabs, and it's a huge one, and we can make even more history. Take Two is nominated there, so let's get it.
방탄소년단 축하드립니다.
First, we need to contextualize the first 2 contracts. BTS started as a hip-hop idol group in the K-pop industry, and in this industry, most contracts last 7 years. This is of course if the group is successful, because if it isn't or if there's any conflict, the contract ends earlier. However, even in the best case scenarios, successful groups will disband in their 7th year. This is why the K-pop 7-year curse exists. This is what RM said in BTS's 8th anniversary in 2021.
7 years, it symbolizes like an invisible limit for many Korean teams, especially the K-pop groups. The 8-year anniversary is kind of like a really like a momentum, and it's like a meaningful day for a group.
So the groups that sign with their labels for a second time are rare, but they do exist. However, I think it's important to make a very important distinction between BTS and other K-pop groups. To start, many of the K-pop groups that decide to continue being a group beyond the end of their contracts tend to sign with different labels individually, but they come together as a group from time to time, or at least that's what they promise. Because a common trend lately is having a silent disbandment. Other groups that do stay together for years and years have so many members that it's inevitable for all of them to stay in the group. But
okay. Sorry, so it kind of makes sense, that silent banding, basically. Like, you don't want to like let everyone down, but you can like, it's like they say something but the actions kind of do like something else, like, they just don't officially come out and say it, but everyone kind of feels it in their heart, that sort of thing.
I don't want to be unfair. Many members that it's inevitable for all of them to stay in the group. But I don't want to be unfair. Of course, there are some K-pop groups that stay together for many years. The longest running K-pop group has been together with all of its members for more than 20 years. And while I congratulate them and hope for a similar future for BTS in terms of number of years, the reality is that BTS' situation is different and way more complicated. Because there's no other group in the history of K-pop that has been able to truly pave their way in the global music industry. So as annoying as it can be to the BTS members, their decisions and future are of the industry's interest. Thousands of articles are made for every decision they make, and their contract renewal, disbandment, or any tiny decision by them will become international news, reported and analyzed for days, weeks, and even months. This doesn't happen to K-pop groups, because as legendary as they can be to the K-pop sphere, their disbandment or renewal will have almost no effect in the global music industry or their country's economy. BTS being signed as a 7-member group to a Korean label means more tourism, more South Korean recognition internationally, and even more jobs for South Korean citizens. My point is that BTS signing not a second contract but a third contract is extremely rare in the Korean music industry, because no other Korean group has grown to the lengths of BTS to even think about making a decision this big. Beyond that, groups that do become relevant in K-pop don't stay together for more than one contract. Sometimes because when they get what appears to be bigger solo opportunities, either from Korean labels or international labels, they take them. That's what I find extraordinary. BTS plan to stay together after their military service no matter what.
That, to me, is the most telling thing here. I feel like in other cases where they tend to disband and go their own separate ways, it has to do with the fact that they have their own ambitions, and the group was never their main priority. That's not what they want to do. But these guys, just take a look at every single time they have performed. Every single one of them during chapter 2 has mentioned at some point, I miss my members. I'm not used to this by myself. And it just speaks of, how genuine they are, how much they enjoy each other's presence, how much they enjoy being Bangtan, how much they enjoy this Bora world that we have, which is, I am just so happy that I am here 2 years later as an
BTS plans to stay together after their military service no matter what. Hype's founder recently said that the BTS members wanted one of their first projects after coming back to be a special project related to their album trilogy, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, whether it is with Hype or with any other label.
And as you know, in 2015, BTS released its 화양연화, or The Most Beautiful Moment in Life album and the album series, and this was a very important album series for them. We said to each other, let's make sure we put out a 10-year anniversary album and a project. If they hadn't signed with us, they still would have released it, just not with us. They would have done it with somebody else.
This special project was already kind of announced by Suga and RM in 2022.
꼭 저희끼리 얘기했던 것 중에 어쨌든 2025년 대부분의 멤버들이 복귀할 해일 거고, 그다음에 이제 화양연화라는 저희의 기념비적인 어떤 화양연화가 10주년이 돌아오니까 그때는 무언가를 할 수 있을 것 같지도 않을까 이런 생각을 했었잖아요. 그것들을 좀 잘 지키려고 노력하지 않을까.
So whether the media wants to admit it or not, the biggest sign of this contract renewal came from the members themselves, because they are not going to promise things that are not going to happen. They know that each of their sentences can and will become global news. This is why they always negotiate and come to a conclusion years in anticipation.
They have to. All these hyenas, people love to prey on other people's downfall. BTS, God forbid, had they actually disbanded, I would say besides ARMY, I feel like everyone else would have celebrated. Yes, finally, finally we can. It's like I just think it's sad to see. But we don't have to worry about that. They're just gonna have to suffer and be like, why? Well,
this prevents all high tensions and speculations by fans and the media about their future. Again, this is an extraordinary measure that BTS takes because of their position in the global music industry. Most groups that do sign a second contract do it a couple of months before their first 7-year contract ends. Others keep negotiating after their contracts already ended, leaving their fans and investors of the label basically in the dark about what will happen. Now, you may say that it's responsible for groups to take their time in negotiating these contracts, contracts. And I totally agree. But it's important to know that BTS always does what's beyond considered responsible. And that's another obvious sign the media try to dismiss. BTS doesn't wait until the end of their current contract to consider signing again. Instead, each of the 7 members take decisions together by consulting their personal lawyers 2 years in advance. They carefully think about and plan their future together. And this is a unique measure only BTS takes because of their unique position. So
Absolutely. It's one of the most amazing things. And once again, it's because they're BTS. It's because who they are. They got so much more leverage, Just that name, BTS. People, just check Twitter. Everyone just like out of nowhere just will post something like a purple airport or like, do something related to BTS that gets like the fans excited. And they get so much engagement, like just the name BTS, just imagine. But the thing is, like, because of who they are, they have so much more leverage, which allows them to renegotiate these contracts in the way they want. And, I am so proud of them because, they deserve genuinely the world.
So I don't want to hear any more comments diminishing the importance and uniqueness of this contract because other K-pop groups lasted for decades too. When the news broke, some articles focused on how rare this type of longevity is in K-pop. It's rare, it's defining, it's a new standard set by them, and they are right. When it comes to K-pop contracts, the chances of disbanding are infinitely higher than the chances of making the group their priority. But BTS showed from day one that they are the exception.
Ladies and gentlemen, BTS.
Honestly, Bora, you do a wonderful job of explaining these things from start to finish. Explaining the contracts, it can be a very tedious topic to kind of delve into, but you've made it very entertaining, very easy to follow. So, kudos to you.
So that was in the context of K-pop contracts. But Western contracts are another world, and Western group contracts are even more complicated. The global artists that have long-lasting music careers tend to be soloists, because it's easier for one person to make what they consider the best decisions for themselves. But when a group is successful, they all have to take decisions together, and the chances of being able to do that for years and years is very low. Of course, there are legendary groups that have been together for decades. Coldplay is the closest example to BTS, and by their friendship and the conversations they had during the days BTS started their talks about their future, I think that BTS is looking for this longevity. I don't think it's a coincidence that both groups got closer to each other during this difficult time. So it's definitely possible for BTS to take a similar path. But I still want to highlight that BTS's third contract is not only rare in the K-pop industry. BTS is not only the biggest group in the world, but they are also the only group at the moment able to compete with soloists.
And they're here to stay.
BTS as a group are part of the world's top 10 artists. However, the second biggest group in the world and other popular groups cannot even enter the top 30. This is why this contract is even more impactful than you think. Historically, groups have not been able to succeed as much as soloists. Think about the groups that were able to actually compete with solo artists, from legendary bands like the Beatles to pop culture boy bands like NSYNC and One Direction. They only lasted for 10, 7, and 5 years respectively. So as the one massively successful group at the moment, it's remarkable and extremely rare for BTS to enter their second decade, because this never happens when your group is at the top of the world. So if this third contract is so rare, weren't the predictions of disbandment by the media not that unreasonable? Like I said, I understand if this comes from people who don't know much about not that unreasonable. But it's so rare, weren't the predictions of disbandment by the media not that unreasonable? Like I said, I understand if this comes from people who don't know much about the industry, but the ones who make these articles are supposed to be K-pop journalists.
Okay, you had me scared for a second, Deborah. I was like, no. Don't help them. No, I'm just kidding. But when you said what you said is entirely correct. Once again, this is not just like random people off the street, giving like their opinion. These are supposedly experts. Now, I may question what makes someone an expert. Like, what's the qualifications? Am I an expert now?
About the industry, but the ones who make these articles are supposed to be K-pop journalists. They should know that their military service was inevitable, but they also should know that at this point they don't promise things just to calm fans. They've never done that, and these journalists ignore this fact purposefully, in my opinion. For every journalist and fan who has followed BTS's career closely, this contract renewal should not be a surprise. Why? Because they've promised it would happen knowing that our country is looking at them, because BTS always negotiates 2 years in advance, because they've never lied about a project coming out, because they've spoiled in 2022 their plans for a project in 2025, and you're still surprised that they renew? You still ignore all of this and choose to predict their breakup? You are delusional, because no other group does this stuff, so there actually exists uncertainty with them, but not with BTS. And you know this. You're supposed to be an expert on this. You study K-pop, you study boy bands, you study BTS's impact in the global music industry.
Okay, Boris. Hey, Bora. I'm just hearing it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slip, jab.
Still ignore all of this and choose to predict their breakup? You are delusional, because no other group does this stuff, so there actually exists uncertainty with them, but not with BTS. And you know this. You're supposed to be an expert on this. You study K-pop, you study boy bands, you study BTS's impact in the global music industry. So if you predicted the complete opposite of what just happened, maybe you should stop selecting only what you desperately wanted to see and start seeing the overall picture. Since the BTS members started enlisting, K-pop's growth has significantly decreased compared to when BTS was a 7-member group. So every media person wanting K-pop to succeed should have been wishing that BTS comes back, not the opposite. Because as easy as it was for Billboard and Western award shows to create K-pop categories, as easy it will be for them to take them away. We've seen it happen, and it can happen again. So let's celebrate that BTS is the exception. Let's celebrate that BTS is entering their 2nd decade in the history of music.
You know what? You know, Bora, you absolutely cooked. You know, that was amazing. It was nice to see you say what we all feel. Like, literally, it's so frustrating with these journalists, supposed journalists and experts, and in depth in these certain fields, and all they really do, they're like a gossip channel. They're like just going with whatever they feel like doing, and it feels like it's becoming popular to kind of like hate or differentiate yourself or like separate yourself from what's good and what's successful, and be like, try to like push it down. I don't know why that's like a trend that we're seeing, but it was so telling as soon as that Festa came out. Like, did you guys actually watch the Festa, or did you just see some people like freak out and then you're like, oh, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity? It's just, to me, it's just so scummy. You know why I feel like it's so scummy? And honestly, it's disgusting, because BTS got the influence and the power to offset whatever the media tries to do. They can shut it down. What about artists that don't have that privilege? What about people that can't really defend themselves and reach the public and set the records straight? What about them? The media, they don't really care. They bring people down. They love to have so much power. They love to, one moment shower praise and turn them up, and then the next moment the smallest thing happens, immediately article after article, everyone. And then it's just so fake to me, genuinely. So I'm happy you took this time to address these things, because one thing they've always said is trust us, and it is such a privilege, genuinely, to be able to have this relationship with the boys where we don't have to be dependent on articles and other people confirming or relaying news to us. We get it straight from the source. Literally, we get it straight from them. There is no middleman. There is no, perhaps there's a translation error. There is none of that. It comes straight from them, and they say it over and over again. Trust us. And, that's really all we got to do. They always talk about, like, just the way they speak about each other. It's not like, you can just tell how much they love each other. That's one thing. And they always mention they want to be, Grandpa, Sonia, and Don, just grow up together, you know, live and still be together when they're like in their 60s, and you know, as long as they're, you know, their body can and what they want. You don't just say that, you know. They're not the type of people to just like give out fluff, you know. They really mean everything that they say. And you know what, all I can say is for those people who wished for their disbandment or downfall, you know, even now the people that were so excited, they were like, oh, no more like group activities. I think they would have had a better chance of getting something of significance if there were group activities, because I don't think they would have been this active as they've been since the festa. There's literally not a month of relaxation or you missing BTS, you know. It's just one thing after another, and we're taking one prize after another. We're breaking a record after another, and it's just amazing to see, you know. Look, people should just appreciate greatness. That's really how I feel. This was a great video. Literally, this was a great video. I'm happy you called those lamos out, because they deserve to be called out. You know, they will go ahead and do something. And that guy, I don't know what was his name, Jeff, erased his name from the articles. Oh, come on. That is such a low moment, you know. It's like, how are you going to put out the article first and then remove it? Like, why you do that? Remove the article. Or, you know, admit that, you know, it was wrong. I don't know. I just didn't like that. Like, that's, to me, it's coward behavior personally. You know, but that's the thing. They can go ahead and just like, because they hide behind an article, usually they can literally tell you that, you know, I don't know, like vitamins or like working out is the worst thing for your body. And then the next day they'll tell you it's the best thing for your body. You know, it's like they're not really being held accountable, and it is what it is. But regardless, they didn't get what they wanted, and they got shut down real fast by Namjoon and JK. And you know, it was very nice to see, because I just was, they just made everything so much worse during those post festa hours. Regardless, third contract says so much. That means we can rest, you know, just rest easy and know that, not that I didn't think that they wouldn't come back, of course, but I'm saying rest easy as in this contract, they probably have like everything that they want is probably in that contract. So for example, you know, they probably do things on their own terms and do this and do that. And, you know, I just feel like they deserve all of this. They deserve to have a contract with all the pros and all the benefits and all the clauses that work in their favor, because they are literally turning everything into gold. Whatever they do, people want it. And, you know, and besides that, they're just such wonderful people. It's like, you can't, like, if you're Hybe, you can't let BTS go. BTS says, give me the world. You know, you just gotta do it. That's how I feel, you know. And I genuinely can't at the same time see BTS be with a different label. I genuinely can't. And like, you know, we touched upon the create your own label type thing. I could see them do something like that in the future if they wanted to, like, but they would go like a different direction. I'm saying future, perhaps like when they're in the like 50s, or, you know, they want to do something else, or like they can just do it through Hybe. I don't know what their plans are, but I cannot see them be active musicians and artists and like go under a different label. I feel like they've like built this up, and even for them, I don't feel like, you know, it's not like they're alienated. It's Hybe, it's Big Hit. They have been there from day one. But yeah, great points, Bora. Thank you so much for making these videos. I really enjoyed this one. I know you uploaded another one. I feel like it wasn't that long ago. I don't remember the title, but I wanted to watch that. But then you came out with this one, so I was like, you know, let's check it out. Thank you so much, everyone. Look, social media can be a very scary place at times, because when something happens and there's like uncertainty, you never know what to do, because the artists don't usually come out and refute it. Now, luckily, we have such a good bond with them. If anything happens, they go live immediately and they address it. And it just speaks of how much they care for us and how much we care for them. Let's just not let anyone try to like burst into our, you know, peaceful bubble. So if anyone tries to like annoy you or anything, just ignore them. Don't engage, because let's be honest, everyone's eyes are on BTS. Okay, they literally won awards at the TMA, I think it was, without even being present, without even being active. I'm just saying, like, you know, let's just enjoy and focus on us. And that's all I want to say. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay safe. Don't forget to vote. You know, stream if you are trying to, like, you know, push some more records and stuff. And yeah.